this preparing the path for the Lord brought to mind, for some reason, as you can probably tell, sometimes my reasoning is not all that right, but it brought to mind the transcontinental railroad that was built in this country in the 1800s. Because of what he talks about preparing the path was in some ways the same type of path that had to be developed for the railroad. That they had to look at those places in which there were deep valleys, and they had to fill them in a little bit so that the grade of the railroad tracks were not too much, so that the train would stay on the tracks and not slide. They had to take down hills at places for the exact same reason. Of course, they had to make some straight paths instead of curved paths to save some money on the time and money on developing the railroad. And unlike what it talks about in the gospel today, they also had to make tunnels for the railroad. This was not an easy process. The process of developing the Transcontinental Railroad took a long time from the moment it was suggested until the time it was finally done. That's something that in our time, so to speak, that we have in our own ways. In the time of John the Baptist, when he is talking about this, he is talking about this in reference to the way that a city would prepare for somebody of royalty to come. So that the royalty that would come with their entourage would have an easy way to get to that city. They would try to make the path as easy as possible, trying to take down hills, trying to fill in valleys, making the way straight so it was easy for that person of royalty to come. And that's the image that John the Baptist uses and Isaiah uses for preparing the way for the true King of Kings, the King of the universe, Jesus Christ, to prepare the way. Now, of course, as we know, John the Baptist wasn't truly talking about preparing a road for Jesus. That the followers of John the Baptist were not construction workers. What he is more speaking about is preparing a path for our hearts, preparing a path in the way that we live, not a physical path, but a spiritual path, which just as the railroads took time and effort, so does our hearts in preparing that way take time and effort. Sometimes even more effort than going out and doing some type of construction work. That we need to prepare the way to fill in the valleys of prejudice, misery, and injustice, raising the ground that the hills are on of stubbornness and pride, making straight the path of injustice, corruption, and lies. Those are the type of ways that we develop that path to our hearts, that path that during this Advent period we prepare for Jesus Christ coming as a child in history, that path in which we prepare our hearts and our very souls to meet Jesus Christ when he comes again. Prepare our hearts to invite Jesus in a special way to dwell in our hearts when Christmas comes. Again, this is not always easy to do. You know, you have to listen to God. Ask God what he wants you to do. Ask God in what ways you need to change, what ways you need to prepare the path. Then after you ask that, do it. Again, it might not be easy, but the reward is so great. Listen to the words of Isaiah. Listen to the words of John the Baptist, and prepare the way of the Lord. Make straight the path.